The battlefield was silent, but it was not empty. The wind carried the smell of burned metal and ash. Broken machines lay across the ground. Smoke still rose from holes in the dirt. The war was over, but death still lived here. A single man walked slowly through the ruins. His name was Daniel. He was tired, his uniform torn, his rifle heavy in his hands. Every step crunched on glass and broken stone. He was not looking for enemies anymore. The war had ended 2 days ago. He was only looking for survivors, or bodies. The silence felt wrong. Too heavy, too watchful. Daniel stopped and looked around. He had been a soldier for years. He knew when eyes were on him. He raised his rifle and scanned the shadows. A faint sound came from the wreck of a transport ship. Not metal, not wind, softer, like a breath, like a whisper. Daniel aimed his weapon and stepped closer. His boots pushed aside black sand. He moved slow, careful, ready to fire. His finger rested on the trigger. Inside the wreck, something shifted. A hand, small, pale, but not human. The skin was a strange gray-blue, almost shining under the dim light. Long fingers trembled as they tried to push away a piece of broken steel. Daniel froze. His heart kicked hard in his chest. It was an alien. The war had been fought against them. Ruthless, sharp, clever beings. Many humans had died because of them. Daniel had killed his share of their soldiers. He had no reason to spare this one. The hand slipped and a weak body slid into view. A woman, at least she looked like a woman. Her form was delicate, with thin arms and long hair matted with dirt and blood. Her face was strange yet beautiful, with wide dark eyes glowing faintly. She was wounded, her side torn by shrapnel. She was barely alive, her eyes locked onto Daniel. She did not reach for a weapon. She did not scream. She raised her trembling hands and whispered, voice breaking, "Don't shoot me, human." Daniel's finger tightened on the trigger. He could end her in one shot. That was what soldiers did. That was what his orders would demand. Kill the enemy. No mercy, but something in her voice stopped him. It was not the voice of a fighter. It was soft, full of fear. And something else. Something almost human, please, she whispered again. Her lips shook. Her chest rose and fell with shallow breaths. Let me live. Daniel stood frozen, his rifle still aimed. His mind argued with itself. This was an alien, dangerous, deceptive. If she had strength, she might kill him the second he looked away. And yet, she was wounded, helpless. She had no weapon. If he pulled the trigger now, it would not be a fight. It would be an execution. The alien woman's voice dropped lower, barely a breath. Her eyes softened as if she could see the conflict in him. I will give you something, she said, words heavy with pain. Something you want. Something you have lost. Daniel's jaw clenched. What could you give me? His voice was low, almost a growl. He did not lower his weapon. Her lips curved in the smallest, weakest of smiles. She coughed, blood touching her chin, but her words were clear. I will give you a family. The words cut through him like a blade. Daniel's breath caught. His grip on the rifle trembled. Family. The word stirred ghosts inside him. Memories he had buried under years of war. A wife's laughter. A child's small hand in his own. Faces lost to bombs and fire. He had told himself those memories were gone. That he was only a soldier now. A machine to fight. To survive. But the alien woman's whisper broke through that wall. How did she know? How could she know what he wanted most? The silence around them deepened. The ruined battlefield felt smaller now, as if the world itself held its breath. Daniel stared at her, rifle still aimed, mind spinning. Every part of him screamed that this was wrong. That she was the enemy. That this was some trick, and yet, her eyes were not the eyes of a liar. They were tired, full of sorrow, full of a strange hope. Don't shoot me, she whispered once more. Let me live, and I'll give you a family. Daniel's hands shook. The choice was his. One pull of the trigger and this moment would end. One act of mercy and everything could change. He did not move. He did not fire. He only stared, caught between war and something new, something terrifying. The chance that the enemy in front of him might not be only an enemy. The battlefield was silent again. Only the two of them remained. A soldier with a gun, an alien with a promise, and the future waiting in the space between them. Daniel kept his rifle aimed at her chest. The alien woman did not move. Her hands were still raised, trembling in the faint smoke of the ruined battlefield. Her words hung heavy in his mind. I'll give you a family. Daniel's throat was dry. His heart pounded. He had seen aliens fight to the death before, never beg like this. What kind of soldier falls to her knees and whispers mercy? He stepped closer, slow and cautious, his boots scraping broken stone. Talk, Daniel ordered. His voice was sharp, but his grip on the weapon betrayed his unease. What do you mean? A family? The alien's dark eyes blinked. She coughed, her voice weak but steady. Humans are lonely creatures, she whispered, always searching for belonging. I can give you that. Not riches, not power. A family. Daniel's jaw clenched. His rifle pressed tighter into his shoulder. You're lying. Her lips trembled into something that almost looked like a smile. If I were lying, human, you would already be dead. You would have killed me without question. But you're listening because you know I speak the truth. The words cut too close. Daniel's chest tightened. Memories he had locked away returned again. Sharper this time, his daughter's laughter, the smell of his wife's hair, the home he once had before the war stole it. His weapon wavered for the first time. He hated that she saw it. You don't know anything about me, he growled. I know loss, she said simply. Her voice broke as if she was not only speaking of him but herself. I know what it means to carry ghosts inside your heart. I know what it means to need someone and to have no one. Her hands lowered slowly, carefully, as if she feared the bullet waiting for her. I am not asking for trust. Only a chance. Keep me alive and I will show you what I mean. Daniel's breath was heavy. The war had trained him to see tricks in everything. Her kind were clever, dangerous. One wrong step could be his last. And yet, her wounds were real. Her blood stained the dirt. She could barely lift her head. What do you want from me? Daniel asked finally. The alien woman's chest rose and fell in shallow breaths. Protection. Nothing more. You guard me, and in return I will give you what no weapon, no army can ever give. The word came again, soft as a prayer. Family. Daniel's finger tightened on the trigger. He wanted to end this, to silence her voice that was digging too deep into places he had buried. But he couldn't. Something about her tone, about the honesty in her eyes, held him in place. Silence stretched between them, broken only by the crackle of distant fire still burning in the wreckage. Finally, Daniel lowered the rifle, just an inch. Enough to show he was listening, but not enough to show trust. Move, he ordered. Slowly. The alien tried to stand but stumbled. Her wound pulled at her side and she gasped in pain. Daniel cursed under his breath. If she collapsed now, she would bleed out before she could bargain further. Against his better judgment, he stepped forward and caught her arm, steadying her. Her skin was colder than his. Smooth, almost fragile. She looked up at him, surprised by his touch. You're helping me, she whispered, voice shaking. Don't mistake this, Daniel said, dragging her upright. If you try anything, I'll end you before you can breathe again. The alien nodded, her lips pressing together. I believe you. They moved together through the wreckage, Daniel half carrying her weight. Every step echoed louder in his ears. This was madness. He should have left her to die. He should have walked away. But instead, here he was, guiding her deeper into the ruins. As they entered the shadow of a broken ship hull, the alien woman spoke again, her words quiet. Fragile. My name is Lyra. Daniel's eyes narrowed. He had never heard an alien offer its name to a human. Why tell me? Because if I die, she whispered, I want someone to remember me as more than a corpse. The simplicity of the answer caught him off guard. He had no reply. He only walked in silence, her weight leaning against him. They stopped inside what was once a supply chamber, now torn open to the night sky. Daniel set her down against a wall. He searched quickly, found a broken med kit, and pulled out bandages. His hands were rough, untrained for healing, but he worked anyway. Lyra winced but did not complain. Instead, she studied him with tired eyes. You have lost people, she said softly. That is why you look at me with hate, but also with something else, pain. Daniel wrapped the bandage tighter than needed. Stop talking. Lyra only smiled faintly, her eyes closing as exhaustion pulled at her. You will see, human, I am not your enemy. I am your chance to have what you thought gone forever. Her words lingered as her breathing slowed, finally slipping into a fragile rest. Daniel sat back, rifle across his knees, his eyes never leaving her. His mind refused peace. He hated her. He pitied her. And deep inside he feared her. Not because of her alien blood, but because of the truth in her promise. Family. The word would not leave him, and Daniel knew, against all reason, that he was already in too deep. The night was colder inside the broken chamber. The roof above was torn, leaving a jagged hole where stars burned faintly in the sky. Daniel sat against the wall, his rifle resting across his knees. His eyes stayed on the alien woman, Lyra. She had not moved for hours, only breathed softly, her chest rising and falling with effort. Daniel told himself she was still dangerous. He told himself the second she opened her eyes she might attack. But in truth she looked more like a ghost than a fighter. He kept watch. The silence of the battlefield pressed around him, thick and endless. The war had ended, yet the land itself felt haunted by it. When Lyra finally stirred, Daniel's hand went to his rifle. Her eyes opened, dark and glowing faintly in the dim light. She studied him for a moment before speaking. "You stayed," she whispered. Daniel's jaw tightened. "You're still breathing." "That's all." A faint smile touched her lips. "If you wanted me dead, I would be gone already." He didn't answer. He only stared, waiting for her to continue. Lyra shifted slowly, wincing at the wound in her side. "Do you know why my people came here, human?" Daniel's grip tightened on his rifle. "You came to conquer, to kill." Lyra shook her head, weak but certain. "Not all of us. Not me." Daniel's laugh was humorless, sharp. "You expect me to believe that?" Her gaze held steady. "I expect you to listen. You are a soldier. You fight because you are told to. Do you think it is so different for me?" Daniel's silence was his only reply. He hated her words because they made sense. He hated her voice because it did not sound like an enemy's. Lyra touched the bandage he had tied around her. "Your people think we came for war. But the truth is more complicated." Daniel frowned. "Explain." Her eyes lifted to the hole in the ceiling, to the stars beyond. "Long ago, before humans built their first cities, my people already knew of Earth. We walked among your kind, hidden, silent. We studied, we learned, and sometimes we lived beside you." Daniel's chest tightened. "Lies." But Lyra's voice was calm, certain. "Do you think it's strange, human, that so many stories speak of visitors from the sky? Gods, angels, demons. They were us. Always us." Daniel's grip on the rifle slipped slightly. He remembered old tales his mother once told him as a child. Myths of strange beings who came from the stars, who whispered knowledge to mankind. He had always laughed at them. Lyra leaned closer, her eyes glowing softly. "Your kind are not alone in the stars. You never were. But humans. You forget. You forget so easily." Daniel forced his voice steady. "If you've been here so long, why fight us now?" Her smile faded. "Because my people are broken. Some want peace. Others want power. War came because leaders chose conquest, not understanding. And now, both our worlds bleed." Her words struck something in Daniel, but he fought against it. "Even if what you say is true, why tell me? Why now?" Lyra's expression softened. "Because you asked what I could give you. And I told you family. Not just blood. Not just children. Family means belonging, human. My people know ways your kind has forgotten. Ways to heal what is lost. Ways to bind lives together." Daniel's breath caught. The memory of his daughter's laughter rose again, sharp and cruel. "You can't bring back the dead," he said, his voice like stone. "No," Lyra whispered. "But I can give you something living. Something new. Something that fills the hollow place you carry inside." Her words were dangerous. They made promises he wanted to believe but could not trust. Daniel stood, needing distance from her voice, from her eyes. "Enough," he said. "You talk too much." Lyra tilted her head, watching him. "You're afraid." "I'm not afraid," Daniel snapped, but he was. Not of her claws or weapons, she had none. He feared the way her words slipped past his armor, the way she saw through the steel walls he had built inside himself. Lyra leaned back against the wall, her strength fading again. "You will see soon," she whispered. "You saved me, human, but you also saved yourself, even if you don't understand it yet." Daniel turned away, staring out through the hole in the chamber wall. The battlefield stretched endless, lit by the pale moon. Somewhere in the distance he thought he heard movement. The war might be over, but the scavengers, both human and alien, still roamed. He tightened his grip on the rifle. If others found them here, Lyra would not stand a chance. And strangely, the thought twisted something inside him. He told himself he was only keeping her alive because she might have information. That was all. Nothing more. But deep inside, Daniel knew the truth he would not admit. If Lyra died now, he would lose more than just an enemy. He would lose the only voice left in the silence of this graveyard. As the night grew darker, the soldier and the alien sat in uneasy silence. Secrets had been spoken. Promises had been made, and though Daniel still told himself she was only a burden, a part of him had already begun to wonder if Lyra's words were not lies at all. Family. The word still echoed in his mind, and for the first time since the war began, Daniel felt the weight of something he had not felt in years: hope. Daniel had not slept. His eyes stayed sharp through the night, rifle always in his grip. The alien woman, Lyra, slept against the wall, her breathing shallow, her wound wrapped in rough bandages. He told himself he stayed awake because she was dangerous. But the truth was different. He stayed awake because part of him feared what would happen if he closed his eyes. When morning came, a pale light spread over the broken battlefield. The ruins looked endless in the gray dawn. Daniel rose to his feet, stretching stiff muscles, his ears tuned for movement. The war was finished, but scavengers and deserters still wandered. Lyra stirred, her dark eyes opening. She studied him in silence for a moment before speaking. "You watched me all night," she whispered. Daniel's jaw tightened. "Someone has to." A faint smile touched her lips. "You fear me still. I'd be a fool not to." He adjusted the rifle. "You're the enemy. You're alive because I let you live. Don't forget that." Her gaze softened. "And yet you didn't kill me." Why? Daniel didn't answer. He stepped past her and scanned the ruins beyond. His silence was answer enough. Lyra rose slowly, weak but stubborn. She pressed a hand to her side, her movements small, careful. Daniel's eyes flicked toward her every second, ready for betrayal. But she only said, "If you truly believed I was only your enemy, you wouldn't have given me your bandages." Daniel turned sharply, his eyes hard. "Don't think kindness means trust. I've seen your kind betray too many times." Lyra's voice was calm, steady. "And I've seen humans do the same. We are not so different, Daniel." Hearing his name on her lips struck him like a bullet. He froze. "I never told you my name." Lyra tilted her head, eyes glowing faintly in the morning light. "I did not need you to. I felt it." Daniel raised his rifle at once. "How?" His voice was sharp, dangerous. "Tell me now." Lyra lifted both hands, palms open. "Do not fear. It is not magic, not a trick. My people are connected. We sense things. Not thoughts, not secrets, only threads of what lives inside a heart." Daniel's finger twitched near the trigger. "So you're inside my head?" Her voice was soft, pleading. "Not your head. Only your pain. It speaks louder than you think." Daniel's chest tightened. He hated her words. He hated that they felt true. "Stay out of me," he growled. "You try to control me, I'll end you." Lyra lowered her hands. "I cannot control. I can only feel. That is how I knew your loss. That is why I offered what I did." Her words pressed deep into him, reopening wounds he had buried. He turned away, unable to look at her any longer. The silence between them stretched, broken only by the wind whistling through broken metal. Then, far in the distance, Daniel's trained ear caught a sound, boots striking stone. More than one, many. He stiffened. Lyra saw it in his face. "Soldiers?" she whispered. Daniel raised the rifle, scanning the ruins. Figures moved between shadows, too far to see clearly. But growing closer, human voices carried faintly in the air. "Patrol," Daniel muttered. His heart pounded harder. If they found Lyra, they'd kill her instantly. And if they saw him with her, he'd be branded a traitor. Lyra's eyes widened. She pressed closer to the wall, her face pale. "They will not spare me," Daniel hissed low. "Quiet." He crouched near the broken wall, his rifle steady, eyes locked on the moving figures. The patrol drew nearer. 5 men in human uniforms, weapons at the ready. They scanned the ruins like hunters searching for prey. Daniel's mind raced. He could leave Lyra here, slip away, let them finish what he could not. He would be safe. He would be clean. But when he looked at her, curled against the wall, trembling with fear, yet still silent, something in him shifted. Lyra whispered, barely moving her lips. "You must decide, Daniel. Kill me or protect me. There is no middle." Her words dug into him like hooks. He cursed under his breath. He hated her for forcing this choice. The patrol was close now. Daniel could see their faces. One of them called out, voice sharp, "Anyone there? Show yourself." Lyra's hand touched his sleeve, soft and shaking. "If you give me up, I will not hate you. I will understand. But if you protect me, you will never walk alone again." Daniel's breath came fast. His finger rested on the trigger, but this time it was not aimed at her. The patrol stopped just outside the ruins, scanning the shadows. Daniel held his breath, every muscle tense. Lyra's eyes stayed on him, waiting for his choice. Time stretched. A heartbeat. Another. Daniel lowered his rifle and pulled Lyra deeper into the shadows. His voice was rough, barely a whisper. "Don't make me regret this." Her lips curved in the smallest, weakest smile. "You won't." The patrol lingered, muttering among themselves, then moved on, their boots echoing until the sound faded. Only when silence returned did Daniel let out the breath he'd been holding. His body shook with the weight of his decision. He looked at Lyra, and for the first time he knew the truth. He had chosen her. But in the back of his mind, another thought burned like fire. What if she betrayed him for this? The ruins were quiet again, but Daniel knew it would not last. The patrol had moved on, yet soldiers never traveled without orders. If 5 men searched here, more would follow. Daniel checked his rifle, his eyes scanning the horizon. "We can't stay," he said. Lyra leaned weakly against the wall. Her skin was pale, her wound still bleeding through the bandages. "I can't run far," Daniel cursed under his breath. He wanted to leave her. Every instinct told him she would only slow him down. But then he remembered the way those soldiers had moved, their rifles ready, their eyes searching. If they found her, they wouldn't hesitate. And if they found him with her, they wouldn't ask questions. They would shoot. He stepped forward and pulled her arm over his shoulder. "Then don't fall." Lyra stumbled, but Daniel dragged her forward through the ruins. Each step echoed with the crunch of glass and stone. The morning sun climbed higher, spilling light over twisted steel and shattered walls. They moved fast, slipping through shadows, ducking behind broken machines. Daniel's senses stayed sharp, every sound magnified. The whistle of wind, the groan of metal shifting, and then voices, closer this time. Daniel froze, pushing Lyra against the wall of a crumbling building. He crouched low, peering through a gap, another patrol. 3 soldiers, moving quick, scanning with sharp eyes. They were hunting. Lyra's breath shook. Daniel felt her body tremble beside him. He placed a firm hand on her shoulder. Quiet, the soldiers drew nearer. One stopped, pointing at tracks in the dust. Footprints. Daniel's footprints. "Here," the soldier barked. Daniel's heart raced. No more hiding. He pulled Lyra with him, breaking into a run. Their boots slammed the ground, echoing across the ruins. The soldiers shouted, rifles rising. Shots cracked through the air, bullets sparking against stone. Lyra cried out, but Daniel dragged her faster, weaving through broken walls. He knew the terrain. He had fought on ground like this for years. He zigzagged, forcing the soldiers to miss their aim. "Keep moving," Daniel shouted. "I'm trying." Lyra gasped, her voice weak but fierce. They darted into the skeleton of a collapsed building, dust rising around them. Daniel shoved her down behind a slab of concrete as more bullets struck nearby. Shards of stone cut across his cheek, but he ignored the sting. The soldiers' voices echoed. "They're here! Move in!" Daniel checked his rifle. "Ammo low, too low for a fight." He glanced at Lyra, her face pale, her breath heavy. She wouldn't last in a long chase, and "Stay low," he ordered. He leaned out, firing 2 quick shots. One soldier fell back, his weapon clattering to the ground. The others shouted, firing in return. Lyra covered her ears, flinching at the noise. Daniel pulled her up, pushing forward through another gap. They crawled through rubble, dirt, and ash coating their hands. Behind them, boots struck closer. "They won't stop," Lyra whispered. Daniel gritted his teeth. "Neither will I." They burst from the rubble into open ground. Daniel's eyes darted, searching. Ahead lay the broken shell of an old ship, half buried in the earth. Cover. Shelter. Maybe a way out. "Run," he said. Lyra's legs trembled, but she pushed forward with him. Their bodies crashed through weeds and dust, gunfire chasing them. Bullets tore into the dirt at their heels. Daniel reached the ship first, dragging Lyra inside. The air was thick with rust and rot. He pushed her down behind a wall of steel and took position by the opening. The soldiers closed in. Their shadows stretched long across the dirt. Daniel aimed carefully. One shot, then another. The first missed, the second grazed. The soldiers ducked, returning fire. Sparks lit the ship's walls. "Daniel," Lyra whispered, her voice urgent. "Not now," he snapped, his eyes locked on the fight. But her hand touched his arm. Her skin was cold, her eyes burning with strange light. "You cannot win this way. Trust me." He turned to her, furious. "Trust you? You'll get us both killed." Lyra's voice steadied, stronger than before. "If I wanted you dead, you'd be dead. Let me help." Her gaze pierced him, and for a heartbeat Daniel hesitated. The soldiers advanced. Their boots struck faster, closer. "Please," Lyra whispered. Daniel's chest heaved. His instinct screamed no. His heart whispered yes. Finally, he gave the smallest nod. Lyra closed her eyes. She raised her trembling hands, her lips moving in words Daniel did not know. The air shifted, strange and heavy. A low hum filled the ship, vibrating through steel. Outside, the soldiers stopped. Confusion filled their voices. "What is that?" A pulse spread through the ruins, faint but sharp like a shockwave of sound. The soldiers staggered, clutching their heads. Their rifles slipped from their hands. One fell to his knees, groaning in pain. Daniel's eyes widened. "What did you do?" Lyra opened her eyes. They glowed brighter now, strange and haunting. "I clouded them. Their minds cannot see us for a time," Daniel stared. This was power, dangerous, unnatural. Yet it had saved them. The soldiers stumbled away, dazed, their shouts fading into the distance. Silence fell again. Daniel turned back to Lyra, rifle still in his hands. His voice was sharp. "You didn't tell me you could do that." Her face was pale, sweat dripping down her brow. "You wouldn't have believed me." Daniel's heart pounded. His hands shook. He wanted to shout, to curse, to demand answers. But instead he only asked one question. "What are you, Lyra?" Her dark eyes met his. Her voice was soft but steady. "The one who can give you what you've lost." Daniel stared at her, torn between rage and awe. She was no helpless prisoner. She was something far more dangerous and far more valuable, and now he was bound to her. The ruined ship was silent again. Dust floated in the air like ash. Daniel stayed near the entrance, rifle still clutched tight, his eyes searching the horizon for any sign of more soldiers. Behind him, Lyra leaned weakly against the rusted wall. Her skin glowed faintly in the dim light, but her body trembled with exhaustion. Whatever she had done to the patrol had cost her. Sweat rolled down her pale face and her breath came shallow. Daniel glanced at her, unease twisting in his gut. "What was that?" he demanded. Lyra's eyes opened slowly, heavy with fatigue. "A gift my people carry. Not all, only some. I clouded their senses. Made them blind to us." Daniel's jaw tightened. "You could have used it before. You waited until now." Her lips curved into a faint, weary smile. "You wouldn't have let me if I told you. You would have killed me out of fear." Daniel's hands clenched. She was right, and he hated her for it. Lyra closed her eyes again, resting her head back against the steel. For a long moment, neither spoke. The silence was thick, broken only by Daniel's steady breathing and the creak of the ship as wind pushed against its broken shell. Finally, Lyra whispered, "I told you before I can give you what you've lost. Do you want to know what I meant?" Daniel turned sharply. "You keep saying that word, family, but it's just words. I don't believe you." Lyra's eyes opened, dark and endless. She looked straight into him and her voice grew softer. "It's not only words. My people, we can bind. Not like chains. Not like prisons. A bond of heart and spirit. A joining that fills the emptiness inside." Daniel stared at her, his throat dry. "You're talking nonsense." Her smile was sad, patient. "You don't understand yet. But you will. When I touched your arm, when I whispered your name without you telling me, it was because of that bond. I felt the shadow in you, the hollow place left by those you loved. I can't bring them back, but I can give you new life where the emptiness is." Her words dug deep, deeper than bullets or blades ever had. Daniel's chest felt tight, his heart heavy. He looked away, staring at the broken metal floor. "You think you know me," he muttered. "You think because you felt something, that you understand, but you don't." Lyra's voice softened further. "Then tell me, Daniel. Tell me what they were to you. The ones you lost." The words hit harder than he expected. For years, Daniel had carried the memory in silence. His wife's laughter, his daughter's smile. The sound of their voices before war took them away. He had never spoken their names since the day they died. To speak them would be to break himself open. He said nothing, but Lyra's eyes did not leave him. She waited with patience he did not deserve. Finally, his voice cracked through the silence. They were my world. The words came rough, torn from his chest. His eyes burned, but no tears fell. I fought for them. I bled for them, and I wasn't there when they died. His grip on the rifle trembled. That's what you felt, isn't it? That emptiness? Lyra nodded gently. Yes, and it is heavy. Heavier than war. Daniel's jaw tightened until it hurt. And you say you can fix that? You say you can just fill the hole? Her voice carried no arrogance, no pride. Only calm, not fix, not replace, but heal. Family is not only those born of blood. Family can be found, family can be made. I can give you that. Not because I owe you, but because you need it. Because you saved me. And I see what you have lost. Daniel turned his back to her, staring out into the barren wasteland beyond the ship. Her words burned inside him. He wanted to reject them, to call her a liar, a manipulator. Yet a small, dangerous part of him wanted to believe. Silence stretched between them again. At last, Lyra's voice came, soft and steady. I promise you this, Daniel. If you let me live, if you walk with me, you will never walk alone again. That is my word. Daniel closed his eyes, gripping the rifle until his knuckles whitened. He hated her promise. He hated the hope it sparked inside him. Hope was more dangerous than any weapon, and yet... He turned back slowly. Lyra's eyes were half closed, her body weak, but her face was calm. She looked at him not as an enemy, but as something more. Daniel's voice was low, heavy with conflict. If you betray me... Lyra smiled faintly, her voice a whisper. I won't. She leaned her head back, exhaustion pulling her toward sleep. Daniel stayed awake, watching her, listening to the promise echo inside his mind. Family. The word no longer felt like a lie. It felt like a door, one he was afraid to open, and though he would not admit it aloud, Daniel knew something had changed. For the first time since the war began, he carried more than his rifle. He carried her promise. The day was fading. The battlefield glowed red as the sun sank low on the horizon. Daniel sat in silence at the edge of the ruined ship, his rifle resting across his knees. His eyes never left the wasteland, stretching far and endless. Behind him, Lyra lay against the steel wall, breathing slow but steady. She had regained a little strength, yet the wound in her side still bled through the bandages. Each time Daniel looked back at her, he saw the same thing. Fragile but alive. He told himself he should leave. Take his rifle, disappear into the wasteland, and never look back. That would be the safe choice. The smart choice, but his body refused to move. The sound of engines broke the silence. Daniel's head snapped up. Dust rose on the far horizon, vehicles military. He cursed under his breath. The patrol hadn't given up. They were sweeping the ruins, and this time they would not miss. He turned to Lyra. Her eyes opened slowly, sensing his fear before he spoke. They're coming, he said. Lyra's face was calm, though pale. Then the choice is here. Daniel frowned. What choice? Her gaze met his, steady and unflinching. You cannot hide me forever. If they find me, they will kill me. And if they find you with me, they will kill you too. So now you must decide. Give me to them or protect me. There is no middle path. Daniel's stomach twisted. He had known this moment would come, but he had pushed it away, hoping for more time. Now there was none. He rose to his feet, gripping the rifle. His mind raced. If he gave Lyra up, the soldiers might reward him. They might call him loyal, a hero for capturing the enemy alive. He could walk away free, but if he protected her, he would be branded a traitor, hunted by his own. Alone against the world, he looked at Lyra again. She was weak, trembling, her face pale, and yet her eyes burned with quiet strength. Don't shoot me, human, she whispered, her voice the same as the first moment he had seen her. Let me live and I'll give you a family. The words struck him like a blade. He remembered his wife's smile, his daughter's laughter, the empty silence he had carried since their deaths. And then he remembered Lyra's promise. You will never walk alone again. The sound of engines grew louder. Soldiers shouted in the distance. They were close. Daniel's hands shook on the rifle. His breath came heavy. The weight of war, of loss, of duty. All of it pressed down on him at once. Lyra's voice was soft. Whatever you choose, Daniel, I will not hate you. I will understand. Her words cut deeper than any bullet. He had expected her to beg, to plead. Instead, she gave him freedom, and that freedom was heavier than chains. The engines roared louder. Shadows moved between the ruins. The soldiers were here. Daniel raised his rifle. His choice burned in his chest. He turned, facing the horizon where his fellow humans approached. His finger brushed the trigger. He could step out, raise his hands, call out that he had captured an alien alive. He could save himself, but then he looked back at Lyra. Her eyes were tired, her face pale, but her gaze was steady. She trusted him, truly trusted him, and trust was something Daniel had not felt in years. His chest rose with a long breath. His decision was made. Daniel stepped back into the shadows, pulling Lyra close. His voice was low, steady. If I fall, you run. Understand? Lyra's lips curved into the faintest smile. And if you fall, I will not leave you. The soldiers drew nearer, their voices sharp. Search the wreck. Boots slammed against metal. The sound of rifles clicking echoed in the air. Daniel raised his weapon, his body tense. He was no longer fighting for orders, no longer fighting for generals or flags. He was fighting for something else, something he had thought lost forever. Family. The first soldier stepped into view. Daniel's rifle roared. The battle began. By the time the dust settled, the ruins were silent again. Smoke curled in the air. Bodies lay still. Daniel's breath came ragged, his hands trembling. Blood dripping from a cut along his arm. Beside him, Lyra knelt, her hand pressed to his wound, her dark eyes glowing faintly as if pouring her strength into him. Daniel stared at her, chest heaving. She was the enemy. She was dangerous. She was everything he should have destroyed, and yet he had chosen her. Her voice was a whisper, steady and soft. You are not alone anymore. Daniel closed his eyes, the weight of war still heavy, but for the first time he felt something else beneath it. Hope.